Good evening. It's a day after the final and we are still recovering from what has been a fantastic tournament culminating in Gujarat Titans winning the finals, making history really, being the debut team. Hardik Pandya leading from the front for Gujarat Titans, and what a performance by Gujarat Titans and what a final by them. It was another great show from Gujarat Titans. Nikhil Narayan's here with me. We look back on some talking points of the tournament. We look back on some of the trends of the tournament. What have been some of the things that have stood out for us throughout this tournament? So that's the show. It's the review show a day after the IPL final. And Nikhil, some withdrawal symptoms? No match today?
I'm actually very happy. I'm looking forward to some test cricket.
I have mixed feelings. You do feel like, okay, you can move on to other things. But then at the same time, you're so used to expecting a match every night that this is a little strange.
I'm switching to the Nadal-Djokovic quarterfinal tomorrow.
Okay, okay. But just looking back on the campaign, on the IPL itself, and then specifically of Gujarat Titans, we've got to start with the champions, and why not? How good have they been, especially given that no one gave them a chance. There were a lot of people saying this team does not have quality batting, they don't have quality bowling. Hardik Pandya, will he be able to lead from the front? Everybody has been proven wrong today. Hardik Pandya showing कि गुजरात में दो चीजें चलती है, एक है डांडिया और एक है पांड्या. And that's what we're going to begin with, the rise of the Titans, Nikhil. How good has this tournament been for them?
Absolutely stunning, Meha. I still can't believe that Titans, a team no one predicted will win. No one. I mean, no cricket website, no broadcaster, no stat system worth its salt. I mean, it's just unbelievable that a team which had one of the worst auctions, I would say, along with Sunrisers Hyderabad, they have gone on to win the title in their debut season. A team led by a player who was questioned for his leadership qualities, also out of form, ousted by his previous franchise, not a part of the Indian team. Him, maturing in the way he did, leading his team to the title, it's just, and the collective performance of this team, 8 different Player of the Match awards. Getting the best out of players like David Miller, who've never batted with such consistency, even for the national team for South Africa. He's not batted like this, like he did for the Titans this year. It's been absolutely stunning.
I think the part that stands out for me has been those 8 different Player of the Match awards. I think that's what just sums up the tournament for me when it comes to Gujarat Titans, where everybody has played their role perfectly. And that credit needs to be given not just to the team management, which is Gary Kirsten, Ashish Nehra. I mean, there are some incredible stories out there. And I know when they do talk at length about how they really got this team together and how they went about the campaign, it'll be fascinating to understand what it took. But yes, the roles of each and every player, and those players then playing that role perfectly till the very end of the tournament, that has been exceptional. Okay, now Hardik Pandya, enough has already been said, but I think it will go on for a few more days before India start playing South Africa, and why not? How good has Hardik Pandya been? I guess why it also becomes so important, Nikhil, is that it's one thing that it's expected out of you, but when no one expects you to do it, and no one expects you to do it in the way that you do it, that has been exceptional. First, Hardik Pandya's captaincy, that was questioned. Hardik Pandya, will he be able to bowl? Will he be fit enough? You know what he did in the World Cup? When he doesn't bowl, he's not good enough for the team. He shouldn't be in the Indian team. All of those questions. Hardik Pandya, will he be able to lead? I mean, he's the same guy who said whatever he said during Coffee with Karan.
Absolutely.
Can he then get the respect of his teammates? Can he lead from the front? My goodness, he's proved everybody wrong, and what a revelation he's been.
What a revelation. He's ended as the highest run scorer for his team, almost 500 runs, 4 50s, pushing himself to number 4, initially playing the role of the anchor and accumulator, then when need be, also playing aggressively, batting in the depth, leadership, coming on to bowl in the power play in the initial few matches. I remember his economy rate was under 5 in the first few matches. It was the best in the tournament. Then he had an injury and he did not bowl for the next few matches. Again came back. That performance in the final with the ball, which is not his strongest suit.
Which is a spell of the tournament.
Spell of the tournament. For me, it was the bowling performance of the tournament. Getting, Butler, Hitmeyer, Samson, match over. Match was over. I mean, the best, it was 99-1 when I saw at the halfway, you know, had some predictions were showing 99-1 at the halfway stage yesterday. So, you know, Hardik Pandya, then 35th match, we keep harping about it. And it's very important, the first captain who said, I will bat first.
First, yeah.
Because everyone was fielding first, and it was almost a superstition. Captains were scared. And also in a tournament, barring KL Rahul, whose strike rate is also questionable, when captains have failed, Rishabh Pant, not done well. Sanju Samson, not converted. Mayank Agarwal completely failed.
Ravindra Jadeja.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
who retired mid-season.
Yeah.
He has risen, and how? Yeah. It's absolutely fascinating. Yeah.
Okay, then what about the losers of the final? Rajasthan Royals. Again, it was heartbreaking, disappointing for Rajasthan Royals fans. They've had a very good campaign, but that campaign was led by two individuals. Jos Butler with the orange cap and Yuzvendra Chahal with the purple cap. How good have they been? And we've got to take a moment out. Yes, they're the losers, runners-up rather, we'd call them that, but both of these individuals excelled in this tournament.
Absolutely. I mean, the campaign for Royals this season was built around Butler at the top of the order and Chahal in the middle overs. It's only twice before has a team ended with, you know, the orange and the purple cap. And unfortunately, as I was saying yesterday, in 2013 and in 17, they ended on the losing side. It was a story this year around too. But, you know, Jos Butler, firstly, absolutely sensational. You know, breaking David Warner's record, second highest scorer for the most runs in a season, only Virat Kohli ahead of him. At one point, it looked he'll break Virat Kohli's record, 400s, equaling the 216 record. Just the way he batted, and that century in the qualifier too. Yeah. I mean, what a 100 that was. What a 100 that was against RCB. For me, the batting performance of the season.
Absolutely.
Jos Butler, complete revelation. Yes, disappointing that in the final he couldn't do it, but nonetheless, that personal effort. Again, and the point you were making yesterday in a review show we did tonight, data analytics has taken cricket to another level. They were video analysis. We know the weakness of batsmen, and in this day and age, for him to score 800 plus runs is a much more tougher proposition and a commendable effort than what Virat and Warner did 6 years back.
Absolutely. That is true. And to be able to do it consistently, that's what I'm saying, throughout the tournament. And I think only the time where he wasn't being able to score, he came out openly and spoke about it, where he said he was putting himself under too much pressure. And so it was really the mental thing that was stopping him from scoring runs. And, it didn't come down to the technique. And once he had a chat with the team management, with Kumar Sangakkara in particular, he came with an open mind, and then you saw him in what he did in the playoffs, and played a very crucial innings in the 100th, and like Nikhil was saying, in the qualifier to make it to the finals. Incredible performance by Jos Butler, and of course Yuzvendra Chahal, the duo of course are back. We'll talk about that in just a bit, but this was also now about how we finally saw the domination of three of the top teams collapse. I think that's another thing that stood out. Nobody would have thought that at the beginning of the tournament, Mumbai Indians not being able to make it to the playoffs. And it wasn't just not being able to make it to the playoffs. That's a possibility. Anyone could have thought of that. But then the way they played throughout, both these teams lying at the bottom of the table, KKR almost there at one point, did well in the second half of the tournament to give themselves a fighting chance, but it wasn't to be. They didn't make it to the playoffs. So first time you're seeing these top three teams not making the playoffs.
Which is absolutely stunning. I mean, 11 titles, 11 of the 15 titles, and they do not make the playoffs, none of them. The first time in IPL history. It is, I think it is a moment in the evolution of the IPL, and frankly, I think the way they played, it is the end. It is definitely the end for Mumbai Indians and CSK. It seems like KKR, one can still may see sort of a re-emergence from next season. But MI and CSK, remember, MI also didn't make the playoffs last season. CSK won it last year, but the season before that, they didn't make the playoffs, had their worst season. So, MI and CSK need to reinvent themselves, otherwise they're in for trouble. And then the rise, LSG also made it. The other debutant also made it to the playoffs. Then RCB, The Capitals were there,
Yes.
who have never won the title. They were in for the race. They didn't make the playoffs. And then Royals after 2008. They are sort of playing a brand of cricket which might make them a big player in the seasons to come. So we might just see these new teams be the major players in the next few seasons, and MI, CSK and KKR might
Absolutely.
I think the sun has set on at least for the next few years.
And it also just makes IPL grander. It
Yeah.
expands the fan base. When you see the fans now in Gujarat and in Ahmedabad, the way they were cheering for Gujarat Titans, or for that matter, now you'd have, and which is what we've seen with Mumbai and CSK, who've got very loyal fan bases. Similarly, with the Kolkata Knight Riders, you're now going to get fan base from Lucknow, from Rajasthan, which is already there, but it's only going to get bigger given how well they performed, and then Gujarat Titans. And I believe there's a road show in Ahmedabad today, and there were lakhs of people lining up to look at their stars. That's the kind of fans that Gujarat Titans performance and they have created this season. Okay, then we move on to the domination of leg spinner. Oh my goodness, when the auction was going on, Nikhil and I were so surprised that spinners didn't go for that kind of money that one expected, especially leg spinners, except for Vanindu Hasaranga. Fast bowlers went for a lot of money, but spinners didn't. Once again, leg spinners specifically showing how important they are in this format.
Absolutely. When this tournament started, I remember doing the first, first week review. And the first week review show, Meha, we saw that the fast bowlers were doing well. The spinners were restrictive, but the spinners weren't taking wickets. But that suddenly changed the second week onwards. And these very bowlers, Kuldeep Yadav, Yuzvendra Chahal, Vanindu Hasaranga, especially these three, since then haven't looked back. Two of them have ended as the highest wicket takers, Hasaranga and Yuzvendra Chahal. In fact, Yuzvendra Chahal's 27 wickets are the most for a spinner in any season of the IPL. He's overtaken Imran Tahir's. He's broken Imran Tahir's record. And then Kuldeep Yadav, he was absolutely brilliant also, till the last week of the tournament. At one point it seemed that he'll overtake Yuzvendra Chahal. So the return of Kulcha for India, going back to the 2017 to 2019 template which Virat Kohli had started, and it took India to the #1 rankings in ODI cricket and T20I cricket, dominating bilateral series all over the world. I think the exciting times, Kulcha in India, even in Australia for that matter, I think will be India's primary spinners in limited overs ahead of Ashwin and Jadeja.
And, if the spinners said we can do the job, why would the pacers stay behind? Indian pacers. What we saw in this IPL was also the depth that one sees in domestic cricket, all of that coming through in the form of pacers who've done well. They came out of the grind of domestic cricket to impress us all. 11 Indian pacers with 15 plus wickets. That in itself
is a record.
But look at those names there. Umran Malik, the most impressive of the lot. Then there is Mohsin Khan, there's Kuldeep Sen, then there are others. Shami, of course, we know what he's done.
Harshal Patel, Krishna, Mukesh Chaudhary, T. Natarajan making a comeback. I mean, the list is not. And what strikes, it's been a great season for Indian fast bowlers, and in particular left-arm seamers. Mukesh Chaudhary, Mohsin Khan, T. Natarajan, Arshdeep Singh. I'm missing one or two I can say. So, Khalil Ahmed. So, India now has a talent pool. This is like Pakistan's talent pool back in the day. No, currently we have a stronger bench strength in bowling than in batting. Batting, with Virat and Rohit not doing well is a cause of a bit concern. But the bowling, we can make 3 teams out of our bowling, bench strength right now.
If you make a tournament 11 right now, you don't need to take any of the foreign pacers. You can make a very good match-winning, the best bowling outfit with just the Indian pacers. That's how good they've been.
Absolutely.
I think the only other bowler who stood out, foreign bowler, was Kagiso Rabada. But other than that, and Josh Hazlewood, but didn't get as many matches. Okay, then we move on from the rise of Indian pacers to Punjab Kings, the disappointment of Punjab Kings. Punjab Kings looked so good on paper. They had all their bases covered, but it just goes on to show that when you don't have clear roles for each and every player, you also have a philosophy that does not work, which is going hammer and tongs from the word go without considering the match situation, that this is what happens.
Absolutely. Their performance, I still can't believe Punjab Kings, the way they played with the team at their disposal.
Yeah.
We were all gaga after the auctions. Great job by Anil Kumble and his, and his stats people, his whole team.
Yeah.
But the way they performed, the way some of the strategical changes, some of the, the team changes.
Yeah.
I mean, for example, you dropped an inform, Bhanuka Rajapaksha, who was, brilliant and revelation, the way he was batting, scoring 40 of 25 deliveries, just because Johnny Bairstow was available and he's been a big ticketed player, a big name. So you drop an informed player and Bairstow collapsed. Bairstow failed in every match, initial half of the tournament. He did well later, but it was too late by then.
Yeah.
So, that was a big blunder. Then you kept changing your 11, changed the batting order.
Mayank Agarwal not being able to get score runs.
Mayank Agarwal, I mean, I think the biggest mistake they made, and we discussed this before, was giving the captaincy to Mayank Agarwal. They, they rewarded him for his loyalty without sort of, I mean, that is fine. But he doesn't. I don't think he has the qualities to be a leader. He showed in his captaincy. I mean, he was poor with the bat.
True.
And he's been
Maybe they should have given it to Shikhar Dhawan in hindsight.
In hindsight, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, Shikhar Dhawan, a more balanced head. Also, the way Mayank Agarwal batted, because he didn't score any runs, Shikhar Dhawan was forced to play the role of the anchor, which shows in his strike rate of 122.
Correct.
And Dhawan for the Capitals were at his best when he was striking at 140 in the previous 2 seasons.
Correct.
With Dhawan not scoring quickly, Agarwal not scoring at all, the pressure was all on Livingstone, who was their best batsman. But, at the end of the day, it was not a cohesive unit. Also, the bowling. Arshdeep Singh was brilliant in the death, but in terms of containing, they didn't have, and we discussed it, they didn't have a tear-away Indian fast bowler who could pick wickets. Therefore, overall, I think they've taken their wicket-taking problem existed. Overall, they have the second most lower of wickets in the tournament. So, there were a lot of problems for Punjab Kings, disappointing given the resources at the disposal. But I expect this team to do their homework and come back in the seasons to come.
I also feel, I think, with Punjab Kings, the thing that stood out also for me was just not being able to give enough trust to Mayank Agarwal as the captain, because you saw it was a team management coach, Anil Kumble, sitting there, and they're making the bowling changes from the dugout. I don't know whether that works and to what level it should work, and what happens to the captain on the field at that time, who understands the situation much better being on the field. So I think that's another thing that they should look at. Okay, then we move on to this being the biggest talking point throughout the IPL, and that is how the mighty have fallen. Big name players not being able to perform in this tournament, and there are many. If you saw uncapped players doing well, if you saw the likes of Tilak Verma, Jadeja, Sharma, all these players, Mohsin Khan, we've been saying Umran Malik, we've seen some wonderful cricketers impress us, but what about the big names? From Virat Kohli to Kane Williamson to
Pollard,
Venkatesh Iyer. There were lots of names, got one expected runs from, wickets from, that didn't happen.
Absolutely.
I think this is the first time I've seen so many in bulk fail.
Absolutely. And the flop 11 we made,
Yeah,
that flop 11
best 11 if they
could be the best 11 if they play to their potential. And that best 11 can beat any international 11, any season.
Yeah.
I mean, Virat Kohli. I mean, what do we make of Virat Kohli? I mean, what was your take? So much has been discussed already.
Yeah. One wished and hoped that when he scored that 73, that he'd be back among the runs. That would give them give him the confidence, the flow, the rhythm that he needed, but it wasn't to be. I think this phase is not over. It's not over.
Sorry,
I mean, as they say right now, I don't think he's one good innings away from getting back to form, which is scary for Indian cricket, which is scary for Virat Kohli. But I just feel like he's not. He's not in the right state of mind.
Absolutely. I think he needs... Now, I think that thing of, one great innings can change the, can change and sort of bring, transform his career. I think that phase is over for Virat Kohli. Yeah. Now, I think he needs a string of good performances to even contemplate sort of, getting back to where he was. It's just... I had some hope after 73, but the innings after, I was very disappointed.
Yeah, and also, I mean, he's taken a break. Also, the question being, why can't you come out with this is, a suggestion for the Indian selection committee. Why can't you come out and talk about what the players had to say? Did Virat Kohli ask for rest, or did you rest him on your own? Like, we have no clarification on that, or for that matter, Rohit Sharma as well. If he's asked for rest and he's been given, hopefully that will work in his favor. Everybody's been saying, Ravi Shastri, who knows him, so well. He's been saying that he needs to get some rest. He needs to just take a break away from all the limelight, away from all the pressure. Maybe that'll help, but right now it's not. Virat Kohli is not back in form, as scary as that may be for Indian cricket. Okay, then we move on to Rohit Sharma. If Virat Kohli was out of form, Rohit Sharma struggled, and how?
I mean, Rohit Sharma's case is very interesting because Virat Kohli Meha is struggling across formats.
Yeah.
But Rohit Sharma
internationally
is, at his peak.
Yeah.
The way he was batting, when he became captain, the whole new template, going aggressive. So his numbers are phenomenal for India across formats. Test cricket, he's one of the best openers in the world today.
Yeah.
Getting a century in England also. So I don't know what the deal for Rohit Sharma is when it comes to wearing the batting for Mumbai, because the way he's batted this season has been his worst in terms of average strike rate. But also he's been batting in the same mode and template since I think 2018.
Yeah.
Averaging.
We were talking about this. It's not that he's really been exceptional with the bat. It's just that everybody else around him performed
and they won twice.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know why is he back. I mean, I can understand he wants to play the role of the anchor because they had a Quinton de Kock, there was Pollard and Hardik at their peak. That's a great team. But now, I mean, why can't he replicate what he's doing for India, for Mumbai Indians? It can't be inspiration. It has to be some sort of mindset, and which I think, I don't know, it becomes a rut also. I don't know. Sometimes
Absolutely.
you can't get out of it.
I think that's what it is. When you lose 7 matches on the trot, I don't know how much they lost 7 matches on the trot? I don't know how much you have in you to give. As a team, 8 matches on the trot then. I've just been told. So 8 matches, you've not won. And then I don't know, as an individual, as a player, as well as a team, how much do you have left to give? I guess that was another reason. But yes, Rohit Sharma, disappointing performance. Then we move on to Kieron Pollard, another one from Mumbai Indians. And in fact, there could be a couple of more from that list if we, take others from Mumbai Indians, because it has been a collective failure of Mumbai Indians.
Yeah, I mean, Pollard was shocking. And Pollard Mumbai Indians kept backing him. And the reasons were not only cricketing. I mean, he should have been dropped. He was not dropped, and Tim David had to sit out. Devil Brevis had to sit out. And it cost Mumbai Indians 3 to 4 matches the way Pollard was wasting deliveries in the lower order. And Pollard failed miserably, not even one high-impact performance in the tournament, 8 outright failures. I mean, Pollard just couldn't connect at all. And I'm 100% sure, I mean, he's been he's one of the greatest limited overs batsmen, one of the greatest IPL batsmen. But I think we've seen the last of Kieron Pollard for Mumbai Indians.
I agree with you. I don't see him coming back. And the thing was that, of course, there were a lot of expectations from Kieron Pollard. There were also a lot of expectations from Andre Russell. And somehow, despite the fact that there's always fitness being a problem with Andre Russell, he was actually very good. He's got the best. I was looking at it. For any bowler who's taken 15-plus wicket, he's got the best strike rate, 9.9. It's incredible.
It's incredible, I mean, that's surprising that Pollard didn't even sort of, I don't know, again, sort of, I think he got into that whole rut of,
I think he's just past his prime. I mean, there's just so much. It happens to each and every cricketer.
Yeah, maybe.
At one point, you just lose it, and he doesn't have it anymore.
Absolutely. I think we've seen the end of Pollard. Also, he's retired from international cricket now, so
Yeah. I mean, and we've seen him over the last 2 seasons where you've said, the same question has been asked then as well. Pollard, is he past his prime? He stretched himself because that's what great players do, but it's just come to a point where, unfortunately, he just doesn't have more left. I don't know. But yeah, it looks unlikely that they'll go with Pollard again for Mumbai Indians next season. Okay, then the other big name. Now, I don't know, a lot went wrong there, and it's complicated. It's a relationship that's complicated. Ravindra Jadeja with Chennai Super Kings. I never thought if there was one franchise that would have these off-field issues with team management and players, that it would be Chennai Super Kings. But it is that team. And Ravindra Jadeja definitely getting the wrong end of the stick when it comes to, how he was treated, how the team said they didn't want him as a captain, whereas Mahendra Singh Dhoni suggested that no, he himself was overthinking and he didn't want to be the captain. Nobody knows quite sure what happened, but yeah.
I mean, for CSK, I think, can't say Jadeja is the wrong choice as a captain because he is the obvious choice.
Right.
But that transformation, I think, did not happen very smoothly. I don't know, because Jadeja seems to be a leader.
Yeah.
And after Dhoni, if any Indian deserved it, it had to be Jadeja. I mean, Ruturaj Gaikwad is too young. and for some reason they didn't want to retain Faf du Plessis, who could have been, I mean, he captained RCB, so he could have been a good leader given the form he was for CSK in the previous 2 seasons. But Jadeja then, you know, when he started the tournament, the burden of captaincy got to him. No contributions with the bat, not even one cameo in the lower order. He was going for runs, not picking wickets at all. And then CSK, instead of backing him, because since you've made him, there's no other option. Mid-season, reports suggest that he retired, but he resigned. But I think he was forced to retire. And then Dhoni comes, and now CSK have gone back a couple of seasons because Dhoni is not sure. I mean, he's playing next season, but you know, he's almost being forced to play next season, I feel, because Dhoni he had a decent season with the bat, but Dhoni is way past his prime as a batsman. And
I also don't know, there's no clarity on what the conversation was between Ravindra Jadeja and Dhoni, because you could have decided that Ravindra Jadeja was going to be the captain a little earlier. Correct. Why would you do it two days before the tournament begins and Chennai Super Kings is supposed to play the game? Yeah. You've really thrown him at the deep end. On top of that, I don't know what the role for Jadeja as captain was, because at the end of the day, if Mahendra Singh Dhoni is there on the field, who takes the decisions, which Dhoni himself spoke about that in the beginning, in the first 2 matches, it was him, but then he left it to Jadeja. So it's complicated. Nobody knows what went wrong, but clearly things weren't right, and we saw that in the team's performance, in Ravindra Jadeja's performance.
Absolutely. Jadeja had his worst season as a player. I mean, you know, just 5 wickets, I think, in 10 matches. Initially, he was going for runs. You know, he'd become one of India's best finishers, one of CSK's best finishers. He's the same Jadeja who hit Harshal Patel for 5 sixes. In this tournament, he couldn't connect. So, you know.
And he's out of the Indian team. Of course, he's injured as well.
And he was the best.
How things have
along
changed.
with Ben Stokes, he's considered the best all-rounder in the world. So, you know, it's just...
Okay, then we move on to another player who disappointed us. A lot of people saying maybe this is the second season blues for Varun Chakravarti. Same thing can be said about Venkatesh Iyer as well. But 2 players from Kolkata Knight Riders, there's no mystery there, is there?
There's no mystery. I mean, the hero, and this is the fascinating story for KKR. You know, Varun Chakravarti's rise coincided with Kuldeep Yadav's, you know, failure for KKR. Kuldeep Yadav was benched. He did not play any matches, and then he finally moved. He was left out of KKR. Varun Chakravarti became the #1 spinner for KKR, this mystery spinner. Last season, the season before that, he almost became India's #1 leg spinner at one point. And then what has happened this year? You know, what goes around comes around. You know, Varun Chakravarti, poor performance. He was benched, like Venkatesh Iyer. The 2 players retained who was benched by KKR, and Kuldeep Yadav, who was ousted from the KKR, humiliated. He had a great season, and he's back for the Indian team.
And he had a wonderful the 2 matches that KKR
with
played.
I mean, it's a fascinating story. This whole Kuldeep, Varun Chakravarti thing. It's just what goes around comes around. Absolutely. And Varun Chakravarti is now fitness issues, out of form. Forget playing for India. Maybe he doesn't play for KKR next season.
And the same way, I think with Varun Chakravarti, we also must add Venkatesh Iyer in that list.
Absolutely.
Of players who you expected a lot more from. And Venkatesh Iyer is a strange case. It's a curious case, Nikhil, because he was actually doing well before the IPL began. And suddenly you saw him just couldn't connect.
It was strange. Also, I think KKR... He was just, I think Venkatesh Iyer also got confused because KKR used him as an opener, and that's what... he was brilliant as an opener in the UAE leg last season.
Correct.
When he was playing for India, he did well, but at number 6 or 7. Then KKR this season used him everywhere. He was opening, then he didn't do well, they pushed him down. I think they should have...
Too many...
I think they should have continued opening with him. What worked in the UAE leg. But he was batting everywhere, like a floater. And then he got confused. But the thing with Venkatesh is he's still in India's plans. He's been named in the squad.
That's also because Hardik Pandya is again... You never quite know, with injury and everything else. It's a bit like Ben Stokes. All these all-rounders, they need to be kept in cotton wool, in a nice little box, just taken care of. Because I think Venkatesh Iyer will always be seen as the other option for Hardik Pandya. But another thing, before we wrap this up, Nikhil, one thing that I felt was common in teams that did well was the camaraderie that they had within themselves as well as with the team management. We've seen some wonderful things, and which we heard from players in Gujarat Titans as well as Rajasthan Royals, where Ravichandran Ashwin coming out and saying, this is the happiest phase of my life. I've never been as happy in a team as I've been here. Gujarat Titans players have come out and said, yeah, we're so sure of our positions in the team. It's great. Hardik always, he's entertaining, but at the same time, he listens to us. He tries to take our plans into consideration. We've seen that as a common thread amongst teams that have done well.
Absolutely. And I think it works. It works for individuals. It works for teams. See, the same Maxwell who couldn't connect a ball for, Punjab Kings did brilliantly for RCB last season. Kuldeep Yadav, we all thought it's over for KKR. He did brilliantly this season for a different franchise. David Miller, I thought David Miller, I didn't expect him to score more than 200 runs, if at all. He scored almost, close to 500 runs with, brilliant consistency and maturity. I've never seen David Miller bat. So, there is this relationship between the management, captain and the players and,
which makes a huge difference.
Which makes a huge difference and which we've seen in this tournament.
Okay, with that, we've come to the end of this special. News9 Sports is what you need to subscribe to for all the latest from the world of sports. That's it from Nikhil and me. Bye-bye.